Hi everyone, it's Bun Time, and welcome to my March plan with me. As is tradition for the bullet journal community, I've decided to go with a plant theme for March, specifically variegated monstera leaves. I'm sure this has been done before since monstera leaves are so beautiful, but I hope you enjoy my go at it. Also, I apologize for the weird lighting in this first part of the video. I'm not sure what was going on with my ISO on my camera, but it's been giving me a hard time lately. But anyway, for this setup, I'll be using a lot of this black paper as the background for my spreads. So I glued the black paper down and trimmed the edges. And I will be using 3 different Posca markers for this whole setup. I start out by drawing some heart shapes with the white Posca. The white goes down a bit streaky, so I have to layer it a couple of times to make the white a little more opaque. And then I glued on more black paper and drew in some more white heart shapes for the quote page. After all of the white has dried, I go in with my green marker to color in the variegation patterns. I like to imagine the center line of the leaf and then draw in the variegation, keeping in mind that center line. Finally, I use my black Posca to color in the breaks and holes in the leaves that monstera leaves are kind of known for. And even though there are some leaves layered on top of other leaves, so you should be able to see the leaf beneath it, instead of having black to indicate the holes and breaks in the leaves, I decided to use black anyway because it's easier, and I think it looks fine. The cool thing about this theme is that it's pretty much impossible to mess up. The leaves are so easy to draw. You start out with a heart, you go over with the green, and then you draw in the breaks and holes. By the way, if you're not using a black background like I am, you should use the same color as your background for drawing in the holes on the leaves. For the quote, I wrote "Escape the Ordinary" in a very simple cursive font, and I wrote "March" on the cover page in that same font. And I decided to take a page out of Shada Campbell's bullet journal and did a cutaway cover page. This is like classic Shada Campbell style. I really love her work. If for some reason you have not seen her videos, please check her out. I'm using my ruler to measure out how much space I should be cutting out from the cover page because my black paper is not dot grid. I still have not gotten the notepad from Archer and Olive, and it's out of stock now, so who knows when I will be getting it. And I'm just using my scissors to very carefully cut around all of the leaves. I wrote 03 at the top right corner of the bottom page, and then I drew in a little mini calendar that can be seen next to the cover. Underneath the cover page, I took a piece of torn black paper and drew more leaves for decoration. I'll be using this page for my goals and affirmations. For my calendar spread, I again went with the black background. You can see me kind of struggling to figure out how to do this. I should have measured and cut before filming, but I've been trying to not get so bogged down with making everything perfect, so we're out here doing almost everything on the fly. You can see I glued the black paper down with a bit of a gap in the center of the spread. I did that so I can see the dot grid and line up where I want my calendar to be. It was a bit difficult because the paper I'm using doesn't have a dot grid, so I'm using my ruler to measure out how much I should cut out for the calendar. And my camera died in the middle of cutting, but honestly, that was my camera doing us both a favor because no one wants to watch me struggle for 20 minutes trying to cut some paper with some embroidery scissors. I used my green Posca to color the top of the calendar for the days of the week, and I drew in some more leaves around the calendar. If you are curious, the squares for the calendar are 4x4 dot grid spaces. And also, if you're curious, all of the supplies I'm using in the setup are going to be linked in the description down below, including the journal I'm using. I used my white Posca to write in March on the top of the spread. I used my white gel pen to write in the days of the week. I used my Pigma Micron pen to write in the dates, and once the Posca was dry, I went in with my black Posca to outline March where it overlaps the leaves. Then I used my black Posca to color in the gutter of the spread because I thought the white was really weird and distracting, but I wish I had done this a little more neatly. It looks kind of rough, but maybe I'll go back and fix that later. The next spread I'm setting up is my habit tracker. I of course glued in the black paper and then trimmed the edge. I wrote in habits for the header and I drew in the monstera leaves. Then I took some mini calendars that I had pre-cut and glued them in. I don't usually like to use mini calendars to track my habits because I always get confused and mess it up, but I love how the mini calendars look, so I'm going to try it again and see if it works out this time. After that, I took out my white gel pen and wrote in the habits I'm going to track above the mini calendars. On the opposite page, I'm doing a different kind of spread for me, which is a self-care spread. After I glue in the paper and trim the edges, you can see me drawing in some different kinds of leaves at the bottom of the page and writing some labels underneath it. These are things I need to be doing for myself more often, like calling my parents, taking a walk, doing a face mask, and actually putting a little effort into my appearance even though I haven't seen another human in months. So the idea is when I do the act of self-care, I will draw in the corresponding leaf. And I'm hoping it'll encourage me to do these things a little more often. Also, I definitely waited for the white gel pen to dry, but it still transferred to the opposite page, so that's cool. And actually, a lot of the white from the leaves will be transferring to the opposite page when you close the book. I'm not sure if it's the nature of the paper, or if it's just the Posca markers, but that happened. The last spread I'm setting up is my weekly spread. I'm gluing in a piece of black paper on the right side, and I'll be leaving the left side white. I drew in the leaves and then glued in a piece of white dot grid paper that I had already cut out for my weekly to-dos. I used my green Posca to color in the headers of the days of the week. And while that dries, I went to the left side and sectioned it out for my notes, goals, and fitness tracker. I'm not drawing in my fitness tracker right now because lately I've been rotating out different exercises each week. I don't like doing one big workout. I prefer doing a few different exercises a couple of times a day, so I like to draw in a little chart to track it all. So back on the right side, I'm drawing in the boxes for my weekly and writing in the days of the week with a white gel pen. And that's pretty much all it takes for me to set up my weekly spreads. It takes like 10 minutes. Usually I don't glue in paper. Sometimes I don't doodle, but that's my weekly. So let's take a look at the final flip through. I'm really happy with how this setup turned out. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you were also doing a plant theme from March, I'm sure a lot of people are. We're all really excited for spring, probably. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.